this whole conversation. If you are a virgin and you are in your 20s and you want to get married, man or woman, make sure that on the daily, I want to pure virgin and them things. When you get older, you realize I'm not about that life. But some of them do end up in church down the road and try to find a good guy to settle down with. I know the world is all about sex positivity, yada, yada, yada. All that stuff is empirically nasty and gross.
Ruslan.
This video was sent to me by somebody on Instagram, and it kind of talks about the idea of purity for women juxtaposed with a Christian channel, Christian influencer, addressing something that kind of come off kind of wild. And to be fair, I reached out to this creator. I think we're going to collaborate on something. He's from the UK, so excuse his accent.
Excuse his accent.
I wanted to show it to you.
Hey, listen, guys. Shout out to Ruslan. I'm gonna review this video because I think it was a really cool conversation that he had on his channel. Listen, by all means, we talk about a lot of stuff on this particular channel, Little Black Book. So if you're new here, listen, like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. Listen, this conversation was a video that I did with myself and Latiris Whitfield. It was an extract from a longer conversation. So this video has obviously been doing some rounds around different areas, and people have commented and said how they felt about it. I've seen so many different opinions, and really and truly, the conversation was to but the conversation was to have a real conversation, right? And unfortunately, sometimes a real conversation, right, takes into the fact that there are real things happening in real time, and that not every decision becomes so spiritual, right? So when we were talking about whether men are dating or marrying virgins at the moment, right? And I said, listen, for those obviously who are not, let me give a context. What I meant was that for those of us who are not virgins, we might we'll see things differently, right? For those of us who are not virgins, we'll see things differently because of the way that we move or have moved in the past, that now in the present time, we're going to move a bit differently. If you're a virgin, that conversation wasn't for you. Like if you're a virgin, marry a virgin. I said that the conversation wasn't for you. I was talking about men who have experience, right? Now, of course, I believe there are some men that will want to date a virgin. I'm not saying there isn't those kind of men, but I was saying I hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard a brother in Christ tell me, bro, I need to marry a virgin. I hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard a brother who, and by the way, again, context, a brother who had already had sex or had multiple relationships or partners who then said, I want to marry a virgin. Like it wasn't the first thing that's on the front of your mind, like I've got to marry a virgin. And that's what I was trying to allude to. Not that nobody should marry virgins, not that, you should go buck wild yourself, you know what I mean, and go and have sex. No, that's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is virgins marry virgins. That's oftentimes what the case is, right? But then myself and Latiris were even talking live on that show, and you see the live comments. We asked the audience, how would you feel marrying somebody who was a virgin? How would you feel? And even the women were saying, hey, to be honest, I wouldn't want to marry someone who's a virgin. I want to be marrying somebody who's got a little bit of experience. Okay. So that's why I was like, hold on. Like, if we have a real conversation about real thoughts, because what happens is in the church, especially, is we tend to have conversations and it doesn't become real. You know what I mean? And when we're having real conversations, there are things that we're not going to like. There are things that are going to be part of the conversation that won't necessarily always line up exactly with how the Bible is. And even then, we have to take into effect culture, right? Because a culture will change the way that people will think. And I'm not saying that we should be following culture. I'm saying in the way that we're bred. You know what I mean? Bred. So from somebody who is, and I want to give this imagery, for somebody, I grew up in a church, but I left the church. I left the church for a few years. I went into the world. I did what I did with the world, you know what I mean? And I was moving mad. Then I came and gave my life to Christ, got born again. You know what I mean? Got born again. And then I saw things differently because I started to see church and Christians. Right. And I when I started to see that, when I say church and Christians, I'm talking about the way that people move. Both of them are born again, but they move differently. People who've always been in church don't necessarily have the life experiences that some of us have had who've gone outside of the church and then come back into the church. We have a totally different perspective. Let me give you an example. You might hear a lot of church women complaining about some of the brothers not choosing them. And sometimes the reality is a lot of these church women have never left those four walls. So their experiences, and even look, I'm going to keep it a buck. I remember I was having some conversations some years back about some, and I would call them church women or church girls at the time, who were talking about some of the men that are not choosing the church girls. I said, can I be honest with you? The girls that are coming into church within a year or so are getting married before you. Know why? Because they understand the ways of the world. Right? Now, someone might say, well, that's not Christian like. No. You're supposed to be in the world, not a part of it. You must get understanding. The Bible says, be gentle as the dove, but be as crafty as the snake. You have to understand how the people move. Right? And sometimes what happens is, and I'm going to call it this, I'm going to call this one aspect, right? And I'm going to use women as an example because it's really obvious. I call it church clothing, right? Church clothing. Guess who's attracted to church clothing? Church man. And when I say church man, I'm talking about those who have grown up in a church their whole entire life. You know what I mean? But but those of us who have come from outside that come in, look, the way that somebody even dresses, you be like, oh, baby, you dressing like one of the aunties out here, because you dressing all holy. Because a lot of us believe that holiness is in our dressing, and holiness is not in your dressing, although it can be a part of it. Holiness is the fact that who's in you. That's what we have to understand. Holiness, perfection, they are a person. It's not you. It's a person in you who operates through you that makes you holy, that makes you sanctified, that makes you justified, that makes you saved, okay? And that's what gives you that perfection. It's a spirit within you. And so what happens is sometimes within the church walls, right, and I'm just giving an example again. I'm not going on the women, right? I'm not going to women, okay? All right? So then what happens is you got some church women, and I'm giving this as an example. Church women, let's say, will dress in a skirt that's down to the ankles and a blouse that covers their whole entire body. And then they complain about the brothers who are coming from outside who've seen skirts to the thigh or skirts to the knees, right? And so the brothers are choosing the girls with the skirts to the knees, and they're going, how come? Because you don't understand how the brother thinks. He's not from this church. When I say not from the church, what I mean by that, he didn't grow up his whole entire life in the church, and that's all he's consumed by. He hasn't got that culture. And so when I was expressing about virginity and speaking about this, I was talking about a batch of us, or a group of us, or a particular type of man as well. That is that has come from outside and gone in, come from outside or grew up in church, left it, and then come into church. You have a different mindset. Once you go, the prodigal son, once he went out there, he's going to have a different mindset to his brother. He's going to have a completely different mindset because he's been in the marketplace. And so that's why I was trying to express that and trying to let people know there's a way that a lot of these men think. So when I say men, I'm not talking about church men. I'm talking about men who are Christians but have gone out into the world first and then come into the church. So those type of men, they have a different mentality, and they're looking for like-minded mates, right? Because there's a way that we speak, the way we talk, the way we move. That's what I was really trying to home in on. But we'll talk some more. I want to react to this video because that was a really good video. By the way, Ruslan, great podcaster and YouTuber. I follow him. I've been watching him for years. I comment on his videos. I was excited when he did a thing. He actually hit me up and he messaged me before he released the video. To be honest, I didn't care if he would have hit me up or not. As for when someone goes on the internet, for me, once it's on the internet and it's out there, everyone is allowed to make their own opinions. I'm also allowed then to tell you I don't believe it's the truth, but we can all discuss it, and I like that. So, but it's fair play to him. He hit me up and he said he want to have a quick conversation about what my perspective of. We had a good conversation about it, and I'll talk some more about what we said as well. But so yeah, so it's interesting to kind of see this aspect. So yeah, let's talk some more. Let's get into this video.
To you guys, I wanted to give you guys some of my thoughts, and me and him had some of this conversation privately. And again, we're probably going to do something, so this isn't like to say they're crazy for it, but it is still interesting that this is what's being talked about. So jump in.
You know what men will answer?
I can't hear anything.
A lot of men wouldn't even want to marry a virgin. Yeah, some of them would, but a lot of them feel like it's too much of a responsibility emotionally to deal with.
There we go.
That's what they say.
That's the answer, sir. That's the answer.
Yep.
This is in the context of being a Christian. He said a lot of men would not want to marry a virgin.
Interesting.
Because it would be too much responsibility.
And I'm assuming that's the perspective of non-virgin men.
It's definitely the perspective of non-virgin.
Yeah.
Men. Definitely the perspective of non-virgin.
Yeah,
men.
yeah.
It is way too much. I said this to my audience. I said like that myth died when we were probably like 15, 16. Yeah. When they were all talking about, man, want a pure virgin and everything. When you got older, you realize I'm not about that life.
Yo, hold on. Men's with a pure virgin. I love the accent, bro. Men's with a pure virgin. Men's with a pure virgin.
I love that, man. Listen, so and by the way, me and Ruslan are cool, man. I love the fact that he was bantering with me as well, right? So okay, so here's the thing. You know, so here's the thing about this as well. So what I think what I say doctor, but yeah, a dear wifey, Latourist Whitfield, what he was saying, he was commenting and saying about the fact that the responsibility, and there is a different responsibility because there's an onus to teach correctly. I think this is the difference, right? So when we talk about, and again, and I say this within reason, because, and you know what's interesting, we had a 2-hour conversation about talking with virgins, right? Talking about virgins, and we asked some virgins to come aboard. And what I was trying to get them to understand was the relationship naivety is there, irrespective of whether you have theory or not. It's there. You know what I mean? And so that's what I was trying to allude to. So there is a responsibility that if you're not a virgin and you deal with somebody who's a virgin, there is a responsibility of teaching, right? Because now that person's a clean slate. It's a positive because if you got the right teaching, by all means, your teaching will be great. But a lot of us have trauma. We have our own issues and the way we deal with things. And even your teaching could be askew. So a lot of guys will try to, I said that a lot of guys who come from the outside in, not those who are already in a church, they will have a different perspective. You know, they'll have a different perspective in terms of if I get involved with this person has a dependence on me and my reality. Whereas somebody who's already been in the world already, they already have an identity in terms of what they feel is right, wrong, what they do. And when I say right, wrong, I'm talking about relationship aspect, not as a human being, as relationship aspect. They already have their ideas. And now someone might say, isn't it better to be in a space where someone is willing to go with your own ideology? And I would say, yes, in some aspects it is, but a lot of us are independent and we want our partners to be independent to some part, to some degree. You know, and so I think that also aspect comes into play as well, right? That little independence of, I want you to know what you're about. Okay. You know, I want you to know what you're about and I'm about, and then we can then meet. And it sounds backwards because it is backwards in a sense, because surely if I'm in a place where I can teach you, that's much easier, right? It's much easier, but it's almost like you want that person to have that independence so they can also do their own kind of thing, maneuver how they want to maneuver, but then also as well, because then you're learning from each other and you're teaching each other. And then that person also stands on their own 2 feet. I don't have to explain this. Like, no, I do have to explain this. No, I do. No, that's how I want to explain it. Let me not pretend as if I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to be gentle, but the reality is it's backwards. It's partly backwards. And that's what happens when you have sex. Things become backwards because you've had sex, right? You've had sex. Also, and like I said, again, there are things that, unfortunately, you know, relationship-wise, there will be some naivety there, right? Some people don't want to deal with that. It is what it is, right? And also, I think someone said it in the chat as well. It is about compatibility and chemistry as well. So I'll go deep into it in a second or two, and I'll break it down some more.
And everything. And so he's saying here, which is kind of crazy, that men who have already been with women aren't going to want to be with a woman who's never been with a man. Okay, play the rest of it.
I'm not here to teach. Once you've gone dark, it's very hard to want to go. You know what I mean? So yeah, the responsibility is a key word that you mentioned there. Responsibility, because that emotional attachment becomes so strong that navigating that space for a lot of us as men, I think it becomes very difficult for us to want to want to now experience that. So yeah, yeah, that thing died with us. A lot of us when we were 15, 16. As we got older, once you start getting experience in that area of field, it's not really, you know, and that's why I say I even find it. If a man tells me he's super experienced and says, I want a pure virgin, I'm saying to you guys, I said to ladies, be careful of that guy, because he's probably looking at you as somebody to help him cleanse his sins off. Listen, he's got nothing to do with you being a virgin. Like, because yeah.
No, I agree with him here.
So, is he a Christian YouTuber?
He's a Christian YouTuber. Okay. As far as I know. It sounds like he speaks on some relational stuff as well.
It's definitely weird to say, I want a virgin. I think that's weird. Like,
let's keep playing the video. Okay. Now I'll give you my thoughts on
Okay,
this.
cool. I'm excited.
Because what he's be careful of this guy. Be careful of that guy.
I'm with him here. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. You said to cleanse his sins off. It was an episode I did with Terry Ijeoma. It's called $40 Million Virgin.
Wow.
She's a very successful woman. She's $40 million strong. And she asked me on the episode, she's like, would you marry a virgin? I said, Now, for me, it went to the reason why I initially declined it is because it goes against my feeling of unworthiness. I felt like I would be unworthy to.
See, he got very vulnerable.
Yeah.
He got very transparent. He thinks it's because of his unworthiness.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that to me is a more honest answer.
Yeah, as to why you wouldn't want to. People are like, oh, so much responsibility. In reality, they're like,
no, too much responsibility is also a vulnerable answer. It's a real answer. We may not like it, but it's a real answer. You know what I mean? And you have to understand as well how a lot of men are as well. A lot of men, listen, let's be real. How many men do you know that are even emotionally intelligent enough to even handle a situation like this? You know what I mean? Because it takes a level of emotional intelligence to deal with somebody who's a virgin. People don't realize this, right? You know, there's some aspects of your behavior as men, especially, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's like men don't want, and men do love the innocence of a woman. And I'm talking about men again who have gone past they're not a virgin, right? It's gone past a virgin, right? So in that aspect, right, the way that men are relating to women is, and also as well, because of that once you had sex, you want to be able to relate to somebody on that level too. It does not mean you want to have sex. I mean, you do, but I'm saying it's not about, oh, I want to have sex with you. But it's more about the fact that, you know what, we already have that in common. We already have that experience. And there's something about once you have sex, about the way you move, it's different, right? It's different. And so it's so different because the innocence has gone, right? The innocence has gone. And so that innocence now no longer plays a part in the interaction. We both are supposedly are aware, supposedly we are becoming more aware. So that's the aspect. Of course, I would say again, is it better to probably marry a virgin? Yeah. If you're a virgin, marry a virgin. If you're not a virgin, I mean, you can marry a virgin. They're not more worthy. And that's my biggest thing. They're not more worthy. I think I also want to remove this aspect that because you saved your virginity, you're more worthy. You're not. And unfortunately, you're in a marketplace which doesn't value virginity as high. And when I'm talking about as high, because you're talking about those supply and demand. This is a marketplace issue. And I think that's the biggest issue, right? In the marketplace, relationship-wise, for the everyday man, the issue is this: the supply and demand. Yeah. It's the supply and demand. Yes, that's a good point, right? The supply and demand. If the men that are in these situations, a lot of these men, I think someone gave us, I think I was on Red Pill and they were talking about a stat: 1 in 3 men are virgins. I don't know where that stat came from. If that's the truth, hey, there's still 2/3 who ain't. which means 60% of the men aren't virgins. Therefore, there's a higher amount of supply, of demand from those 60% who are not virgins, who potentially will see things differently when they're looking for a partner. So I'm saying here that you know, that in regards to men choosing, the world that we live in doesn't hold virginity at its highest level. It's no longer the thing that a man looks for and goes, that's what I need as a, you know, as a partner to say, yes, I've got the best of the best. That's not the best of the best anymore. Now, if we were in biblical times, if we were in Jesus times, if we were Old Testament times, if we were in Abraham's times, yes, you'd be looking for somebody and saying, do you know what? I want a pure virgin. Yeah. And then you'd have a certificate potentially as well. And if she wasn't a virgin, you could also stop the marriage too. There's a lot of things that came with that particular aspect as well. So in that aspect, it's not as highly sought after as it used to be. Whether this is right, whether this is wrong, for me doesn't make a difference. Are you born again? Do you have Christ in your life? That's the most important thing, right? But in terms of choosing people around the chemistry and compatibility, and you have to understand, if the men were virgins, and this is the biggest issue we're having here, that people are not really understanding, when these men, okay, in these particular times, were also virgins. So choosing somebody also to be a virgin. If you're not a virgin, you are not a virgin. Okay, if you're not a virgin, right? It would be different. So when we look at biblical times, we look at those particular things. Virgins were marrying virgins. That's why it's such a big issue with Mary and Joseph. Look, it's virgins marry virgins. That's how it goes. You understand? And if you weren't, you were considered to be a ho. Some were even doing prostitution. You understand? Yeah? Some were even doing that. So you have to understand, we have different contexts of culture, and there are different times, and people come from different angles. So again, I'm repeating this. I'm specifically talking about men who did not come from that angle. You didn't grow up in church, or you did grow up in church, but you left the church, you went into the world, you've done what you've done, you come back in. In that aspect, your innocence is gone. So you don't look up, you're not looking for innocence in other people. What you're looking for is somebody who can be a good, compatible mate. That's why I said about they're not looking for virgins in 2022. Virgins need to look for virgins. And do you know what the problem is? Some virgins are not even looking. Some virgin men they're not even looking. They're not even looking. You know, but yeah, so yeah, let's continue.
I done messed up too many girls' feelings, and now you waited, or you're like, you don't have a lot of that baggage.
Marry a virgin. I'd be like, she'll be better suited with a guy that kept that same energy. I just felt
that's right too. A virgin would probably be better suited with a virgin. Yeah, right. That too is true.
As well, felt that she would be better suited for that. But again, that was attached to my unworthiness. If God saw fit for that to be whatever it is, then it is what it is. But it wouldn't be my initial preference. Initially, yeah.
And I think, and honestly, and again, because once you've eaten that fruit, like Adam and Eve, it's very hard to unsee what you've seen and to unfeel what you felt. You know what I mean? And the deeper you go, the more it's harder to turn back and to say that. So, I mean, I think when you said about responsibility, I think that was a key aspect as well.
So here's the pushback to this, right? Here's the pushback to this.
Okay.
Is there are women out here who are virgins, who have remained pure, who have saved themselves for marriage.
And there's men like that too.
The
expectation seems very low.
And they should marry each other.
Where it's like, guys, we have to marry some virgins. Well, it's like, yeah, all the other virgin men are going to want to marry the virgins as well.
True. That, I mean, that's one way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
But to say that would be as I want to make sure that you guys know about our upcoming podcast show. And I kind of got into some of this with Rollo. The most sexually fulfilled people and the least likely people to get divorced are people who are virgins.
Okay, so this part, I watched this part, right? This part of the conversation is going to get to a point where I feel, I'm not going to say he's being disingenuous. I'm going to say he presented stats that were biased. you know, and you'll see it in a minute when his friend challenges the stat and he kind of skirts it a little bit. Okay. And so this is why I'm saying about we need to have real conversations, because all I was doing was talking about the FX. That's what I was talking about. Okay. I was just talking about the FX. I was talking about the effects of the fact that people out here, okay, are not choosing virgins from a particular demographic of men. All right. And so this is my biggest issue sometimes with Christianity. This is my point as well, Lyndon. I don't like this rhetoric that a virgin is held to a higher standard, because if we're, you see, then you're doing the exact same thing you're accusing me of, which is now if we're not them, by the way, not Ruslan himself, but you know, people sometimes accuse you of, it's like you're not being Christian about it. But the reality of it is, we are not pure by your virginity. You don't have a white dress on to become the bride of Christ because you are a virgin in body. You are a virgin because of you're not virgin. You are pure and you're perfect, which is what virginity symbolizes. You're pure and perfect because you have somebody in you who's pure, perfect, and holy. That's what makes you this person of value. All right. So the reality of this situation is people are looking for like-minded mates. Okay? They're looking for like-minded mates. You understand, right? So virgin is not more worthy of somebody else who's not in a marriage. What virgins are finding right now is a difficulty in the market, because the market has changed. Am I telling you to go out there and sleep with somebody? No, because your virginity is not for me. Your virginity is for the Lord. This is what we have to try and get understand. Listen, as for me, I've done what I've done. I can't undo it. Okay, I can't undo it. It's done. Okay, I'm not encouraging people to go out there and have sex. I've never said go out there and go and have sex. What I'm saying to you is the market has changed. You are no longer seemingly, you're no longer amongst what we call the majority of men, because majority of men have had sex now. Well, they say that. Well, 1/3 of men are virgins, isn't it? The supply and demand has changed. The culture has changed. So therefore, now the market has changed. And so the market is responding to the culture. Since we're a culture of sexual freedom and there's no punishment for no longer being a virgin, hey ho, people are having sex. All right, sexual revolution. And then in that, the marketplace, the supply and demand for women has changed. What men are looking for in a woman now no longer is just about you being a virgin. That's no longer top of the list. That's what I'm talking about, right? Yes, and someone might say, well, you know, I've saved my body. I thought it, you know, that would make me more, you know, that would make me more, you know, valued. You know, I thought being a virgin would be more valued. It doesn't. Okay? It doesn't. So the person might ask, so why then be a virgin if it's not going to make more valued? Because you're not doing it for me, you're doing it for the Lord. Okay? You're not doing it for me, you're doing it for the Lord. Okay? So your virginity is not based upon men. Your virginity is based upon you doing it for the Lord. Yeah? Someone said, so the culture should dictate what Christian men prioritize. No. What I don't want you to misunderstand is this. I'm not talking about men who are already virgins. The whole world culture that we saw in biblical, if we're going to say that from a Jewish perspective, or those who follow, who are Israel, is from the nation of Israel, going forth into what we see, the story of arcing into Jesus, okay? There's a culture that prevails that particular community, right? As the love of the Lord waxes cold, as we move on in time, that culture, that grip that has on the people is loosened. And the people within it, also their mind is changing within it. Right? So a man would enter a woman and it'll be marriage. If you want to talk about culture, a man will enter a woman and it will be marriage. So, you know, we have a different precedence for culture. Right now, you want a ring. You didn't care about the ring. You cared about the fact if he entered you, you're marrying. And before he can even enter, you have to see your dad and your mom. Before you can get married, your families have to see each other. You understand? There's a different culture. And so as a culture changes, so does the ideology of the people within the culture. Christian or not. They're not repulsed by virgins. They're not repulsed. You know, they're not repulsed at all. You know, they're not repulsed at all. Like I said, it's talking about different types of groups of people. You know what I mean? Yeah, different types of people. As the culture's moved along, you know, different people have different ideologies. Right? People have different ideologies. People have different experiences in life as well. You know, different experiences in life, right? So, I mean, your prior life experiences have such a grip on non-virgin Christian men. They are repulsed by virgins. They're not, right? Listen, look, we're not repulsed by them. That was never the word we used. We said we had a different we had different chemistry. I like to use the words chemistry rather than compatibility. Compatibility is lifelong goals and long-term objectives. But chemistry-wise, we have different chemistry-wise because of the way that we see the world, right? Because we see relationships, because we've been in certain things. Okay, all right. So that's why I say that we have a different mindset. Now, virgins should marry virgin, right? Virgin women should find virgin men. That's what I always say, right? And if there are some men who are not virgins, are looking for virgins, they can do that too, right? But I'm talking about the reality of what's happening. You know, a reality of what's happening. So I want to put that down. Okay, so let me answer some of these questions that are here as well. All right. Christian men should not hold a standard that they themselves eschew. Plus, stop valuing people based on their body and not their heart. It's a fair point. I mean, there's still going to be some values based on your body count. I'm going to be honest with you. Men do value body count. He's going to ask me a question. He said, would you marry a porn star? And I said, I wouldn't marry a porn star. I'm so sorry. My ego can't take it. I'm just gonna be real with you. I can't lie to you. That's what I told him, and I'm gonna say outly. I said, he asked me, would I marry a porn star? And I said, my ego can't take it because unfortunately, I'm gonna know that other men have tapped that or looked at that, and I don't want to have to cover that. That's a level of responsibility I don't want. Sorry. You know what I mean? Sorry. Listen, most men are not gonna complain. So long as we don't know who the men are. Look, if the girl is set to 100, I mean, so long as you don't tell me set to 100. So long as you don't tell me set to 100, I'll be okay. But if we didn't know the men and the men never came to us or we never knew the men ain't going to complain. The issue is that men have an ego and we don't want other men to have done what we've done. That's just the reality of things. Again, it's a reality. Doesn't mean that that's the way it should be. It's just a reality. Above Ruby's TV said, I think you. Okay. So that's a response to someone else. Dahala said, I think it's fair to ask my future husband, who maybe was a non-virgin, to stop that practice out of love for God, who commanded him not to fornicate and make sacrifice. He can do the same. Absolutely. I'm not even vexed at that. You're right. You got married hella early in biblical times. People getting married at 30 plus, and that's why I'm saying cultural differences. You get to 30 and you're a virgin, we got problems. Right? Because in the biblical times, you were married early so that you didn't have those problems when you got to 30. You know what I mean? You'd be married at least a decade by then at 30. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. Christian men should not be thrown off by a Christian woman being a virgin, whether they are or not. Christians should practice abstinence until marriage, virgin or not. Why would we not be thrown off by a virgin, though? We're not a virgin ourselves. That's the whole point. If you're not a virgin yourself, that's what we're talking about. If you're not a virgin yourself, we are seeing things differently. And I can honestly assure you, you will see things differently. And I'm not saying that's every man that's going to be that can't do that. Ruslan himself said himself, he wasn't a virgin when he married his wife. So there are men who can do this, but there are a lot of other men who are going to be like, I just want somebody who doesn't. You know what? You've been through the same thing I've been through. That's a chemistry issue. That's a chemistry issue more than compatibility issue. Right. And we're in the Western world, we can afford to have a chemistry and compatibility issue. I want to marry somebody who has the same ideology, who's gone through some of the experience I've gone through, understand where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? I don't mind that, you know, and I'm allowed to have that choice as well. We're not being thrown off by virgins. We're saying they're not trying to date virgins. They're not trying to marry virgins. Right. So they're not being thrown off. They just don't want to marry them. All right. They have every right to say they don't have to. It's not no one's entitled to be chosen. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But should the culture change within the church because the culture of the world has changed? You're gonna have to. There's some aspects of the culture are going to change, are going to change the way that people think. Absolutely, because people are in the world, unfortunately, and people have ideologies and thoughts and practices, unfortunately, you know. So there's a way of thinking, right? You have to understand that people are not going to be all on the same level playing field, and they're not going to all think exactly the same. And the reality is the way they're going to choose, and the Bible doesn't tell you to choose a virgin. This is what I need people to understand. The Bible doesn't tell you choose a virgin. It's that. So when I talk about culture, I'm talking about the market that's influenced decision making. The Bible doesn't tell you choose a virgin wife. It says it talks about a man being blessed, you know, for having a wife, right? We're talking about this in you know scripture, obviously, right? If you got a good wife, you're blessed, right? It doesn't tell you to marry a virgin. Doesn't tell you what to tell you to marry some type of virgin woman. That's what it is. That's why I'm saying about we need to start holding virginity higher than anything else. That's not what makes you pure. Okay? That's what makes you pure. What makes you pure is the person who's within you, right? But you hold your virginity for God. You're not holding it for me. You're not holding it for your husband. You're holding it for God. That's what you're doing it for, to do it at the right time and the right season. And we need to change that mindset, because what happens is that goes into purity culture. I'm holding it for my husband. No, you're not. You're holding it for God. It's not higher than somebody who's not a virgin. But if we're talking about market dating place, if we're talking about market dating place, why people choose the partners that they choose, I said that men who come into the church, who've been outside in the world, who give their life to Christ, have a different mindset in terms of the way they look at life. Paul had a different mindset to Peter. You know why? Because Paul was from outside and Peter was within. Peter had even prejudices but Paul didn't have. Paul had his own problems. Don't get twisted. You know what I mean? So there's a mindset shift. Yeah. All right. Cool. You know, as Christians, we shouldn't be having premarital relations in the first place. Culture shouldn't dictate how we feel about it. Instead, move according to His word. But you're stating the obvious. So I want to. You stating the obvious. I'm going to state the obvious as well. We're not talking about people who are virgins. We're talking about men who have already had sex already. What do you do about that? Right? We already know you shouldn't be having sex before marriage. We all know this as Christians. We're talking about a situation where people already have had that situation. They're already in that situation. What do we do then? So that's what we're talking about. It seems that the majority of men who have been in that situation, who have had sex, they're not looking for virgins. Virgins will find virgins. Someone said, where do you find a virgin man that's 35 plus? You know. Someone said, let them know, Kojo, it's historical reference. People just got married and had their dinner back then. Now everyone wants a royal wedding, spending 5-6 figures. Absolutely, bro. If we really were going to talk about it. Dr. 100 said, would you have sex with a porn star? Yes. You want an honest reality? If we were to talk about real stuff, I could say yes. But could I marry one? No. Esther said, virgins marrying virgins is such a terrible mentality to have. Each their own law. Esther, you are banned. Esther, you are banned. Oh, man. It's a good point. I think part of the problem, people are marrying the first time, too old, too much lived experience to effectively combine lives. Anyone? That's fair. Yeah. Lin, listen, I'm with you, baby. I'm trying to find me one of those. Because this whole spending, this whole, 40, 50K on a wedding is ridiculous to me. It's just ridiculous to me. I actually don't understand this culture of spending 40, 30. People spend, okay, I'm even being too extravagant. People will spend 30, 20,000 on a wedding. You don't have that money. Why are we spending 20,000 on a wedding? Anyway, that's another story. That's another story. That's another story. Ashley said, I can see if we're not Christian and thinking like this, we as Christians are held higher standard and not live like this world. I'm gonna leave that alone because if I say something, are we discouraging marriage and virgins? Where did I discourage married virgins? Where did I say that? I said this is the reality we're facing at the moment. Nobody said we're discouraging anybody marrying virgins, please. You know, but this wasn't about that. Again, see, this is what I don't like when we start. Listen, Christians, you have to be understanding. You are in the world. You do not live in the spiritual planes. You live on earth. People are affected by the culture they are in. You are affected by the culture you're in. So if I'm telling you about the reality of how certain men think, I am not trying to say that they should do this. I'm saying about the reality of the marketplace. It's almost like me telling you about stocks and trade and telling you that's how it's saying. You're saying, well, capitalism is so evil. It is, but that is what we live in. Capitalism. I cannot change what the reality of life actually is. And we cannot pretend we can't see what's happening. You know what I mean? Nobody's saying that virgins are unattractive or unsexy or we're trying to make them feel that way. What we're trying to say is the marketplace is saturated with men, and I'm talking about specific type of men. You see, the issue here is when I said about virgin men should marry virgin women, that is the marketplace. That's if we're not talking about real that's your majority of your marketplace is going to exist in that place. And I said the men who have already done the madness tend to not look at virgins. How's that making you feel unsexy? You want to feel entitled to those men as well? Your marketplace is with those men who are also virgins. But you don't want them men, do you? Should we go there? It sounds like you don't want those kind of men. You want access to all men. Listen, we're not going to be chemistry-wise. A lot of men are going to feel like they're not going to be on the same chemistry level. That's just the reality of things. Right? I don't want to get too real. If I get too real, it's gonna be mad. You understand? I don't want to get too real, but I'm just telling you guys the reality of what happens. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you of the reality of what happens in the dating game. But what's happening is you're trying to make it spiritual, and I'm trying to tell you that's not how it works. If you look at it that way, you're gonna miss the actual reality, and then you're doing the very thing that I'm talking about, which is this: don't live in the spiritual planes. You are on earth, and men think like they are on earth. You get me? I know some people ain't gonna like it, and they'll probably quote this one. You know, and people will be annoyed about it, but you know, it's just a reality of things. You know what I'm saying? You know, I get it. Listen, let me just tell everybody here, I get it, right? I really do. Okay, I really get it. I understand. We got a lot of Christianese in us, right? We got a lot of Christianese. We got a lot of GSINAPOD in us. You know what I mean? We got a lot of that stuff. But a lot of you live your life and you don't live it like Jesus would live it. You watch horror movies. You watch shows that have sex in it. Some of you are kissing before you get married. I'm not saying that's actually necessarily wrong, to be honest, but if you want to go real culture, you know what I mean? You're kissing before you get married. You're doing things that you're doing things that if we call them, I call them slight infractions, right? They're slight infractions because you live in the world. The reality of it is nobody's perfect. And I'm trying to get you to understand the world you live in, none of you live it perfectly. I do not live in it perfectly. Other Christians not living it perfectly. So there's infractions of the way we live life, right? Do you get me? But anyway, let's get back to the video. Let's get back to the video. You know what I mean? Let's get back to the video. I mean,
right? And And the less amount of partners, the more likely you are to be satisfied. And somebody say, well, because you don't have any context for anything else. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
But it's still, the fact still remains. So my question would be,
I'm the greatest my wife has ever had.
there you go. Right? You the goat.
She's the greatest I've ever
You the goat.
had. I'm the goat. And she's the goat.
So if there's women that are actually saving themselves and there's men that are saying, no, I don't want to be with a virgin, like that sounds kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of wild to me. Now, if you are out here hoeing around, if you tricking off your 20s,
Yep.
then I would say, yeah, don't expect to get with a virgin. Like that
Yes.
should not be your expectation.
Mhm.
But to make that as a, I'm going to cut this person off because I don't want the responsibility, when all of the stats say the opposite. When all of the stats say you're actually, and by the way, the idea of the more partners you have, the more likely you are to get divorced.
Yeah.
This is actually amplified for women. It's worse for women because men can actually have emotionless sex.
Wow.
Men,
That's so sad.
they're more likely to be able to have emotionless sex.
Yeah.
Women, not so much. So, when
Hold on. Do you agree with what he's saying? Can men just have emotionless sex? And can women just have sex, not have sex emotionally? Do women get attached over time? Do men get attached over time when it comes to sex? I would love to know your opinions on this. I would love to hear your opinions on this. Right? Can women have emotional sex? Can men consistently have emotionless sex? That's the question I'm asking. Is that possible that men can have emotionless sex? Now he said obviously that you know that what the women tend, I guess the issue is pair bonding. So there's a new term that's kind of going around, which is, it's called pair bonding. And basically what it means is the more sexual partners you have, the harder it becomes to pair bond with the right person in a sense, right? Which I agree to some degree because, you know, the more, and I would say the more reckless type of sex that you have, right? This is me going to tell you the absolute truth of what I've seen. But I think it's only this way because of the dynamics of our relationships, right? But that doesn't mean that men are not affected by sex when they keep having sex. Let's be honest, all right? Okay, so the pair bonding issue, if you're consistently having, I would say, meaningless sex, it can affect your I don't want to say pair bonding, but if you haven't done the work to undo, and I know this as well, right? I know this personally as a person as well as a man, that the more emotionless I become, or the more detached from my emotions I become, the more deadly I can become in the bedroom. When I mean deadly, I'm not talking about act. I'm talking about how many partners I can have. I'm gonna be real with you, right? This is both men and women. Okay, I believe both men and women, when you consistently engage in, I would call it, hello? We've got time for that. When you engage in emotion, I say like in sex in terms of you know, that is not relationship aspect, not love filled, but just, you know, trying to get your rock off, you know what I'm saying? The more numbers you build, the deeper you go, right? And I think this is the reality for both men and women. But what he's saying is, I think what he's saying is that for women, it's worse because they can't pair bond as easily. I'm not really. Do you know what it is? I'm gonna say this. Look, I'm gonna say this. A pair bond meaning in terms of like be emotionally available and being into relationships, right? There's some reality behind this. There's some reality added. But what I would say is this: if you're constantly engaged in sex, you've got work to do to undo it. And this is me telling you, for someone who's engaged in sex, I'm gonna be real with you. The more you engage in sex, the deeper you go into it, the more emotionally detached oftentimes you become. Because then it becomes not about sex, it becomes about just being hedonistic, right? So this is the biggest issue. And this is the biggest issue. So when you go down that lane, it can affect you. Now, of course, I would also say as well that there are people that are going to be unaffected. Let's just be real. There's going to be some people that are going to be unaffected. But the reality is, fornication is a sin, and sin takes you down a deeper road. I'm just saying. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you. You already know me. You know what I'm saying? Whether I always do whether I do always the right thing, that's a different story. But I know how it affects you. I know. If you remember your first time, I remember my first time, and I remember the attachment that I had to that person. That's the strength of the pair bonding we're talking about. It's almost like Velcro. You know, you keep doing it. Do it enough times and it no longer wants to stick anymore. That's how I see pair bonding, right? But nobody knows the amount of stickiness they can go through. You know what I mean? What I would say is that, and this affects both men and women. I don't just think it affects women. It affects both men and women. Yeah, that's it. And that's why I said, Saline, and that's the reality. It's not that much of a margin, because what people don't realize is getting married isn't the issue. It's the fact that whether you're going to be compatible, and whether you can be emotionally intelligent as well to work some of these things out. What you realize is the more relationships, the more sex you have, the biggest issue is the more you have of those things, the more experiences you have, the more reasons you have to say no. Okay. All right. Okay. So it is what it is. All right. Okay. The reality is you've got more work to do. Sorry, my mic went. In reality, you've got more work to do. Right? If you've had several partners, I've had several partners, I've had several sexual partners. I've got a lot of work to do. And when you look at some of the when you look at also attachment issues, right? When you look at attachment issues, like I have emotionally avoidant. Emotionally avoidance are the worst when it comes to sex, because they detach, and that's why they go down that lane so easily, because for them it's like, well, I'm detached from my emotions anyway. But the moment you begin to reattach yourself and your emotions, you start to feel it all again. You can only avoid it for so long before you come back, and you got to feel it all again. And then that's where the work starts, because now you've got to actually put the work in to actually make these relationships work. Which is why I say to people, if you're having sex a month ago, it's not a good look to now, if you are being hot girl boy, hot girl, whatever you were doing, Meg Thee Stallion with the good needs, if you were doing it in the summertime, for you a month later to be like, I'm ready for a relationship, it's not going to be a good look, because you actually genuinely haven't given yourself time to acclimatize back and actually sit with your emotions, right? And that's not just talking about sex, that's talking about relationships. It's the same effect, because the Velcro is going tss, 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 tss. And we don't do spirit spouses here and soul ties here. I'll be honest with you, I don't believe in that nonsense. It's not biblical. It's not in the Bible. Get rid of it. You understand? Yeah? It's not there. It's just another one of those things. Yeah? Get rid of that. I'm not about that life, man. Yeah. Anxious attachment is also really bad as well, to be honest. You're right. Because people try to keep on to that person. That's true as well. That's true. You know? Cool. Let's listen a bit more.
When you get north of 10 partners, yes, it's really hard.
Wow.
And so me and this brother ended up talking, and I said, well, would you get with a girl with a high body count? And he was like, well, I don't ask high body counts. You're going to find out, bro. Like, stop it. You're going to find out. You know what I'm saying? Would you marry a porn star? No, I wouldn't. Because there's something to that, right?
Okay, let's pause this point, right? So he asked me a question about body count, and I genuinely don't ask people what their body count is. I genuinely don't. And you've heard me say it, and I don't ask. Right? I don't want to know your body count. I don't care. What I do care about, though, is what you've learned. Because for me, the body count issue is only a symptom. It's not the root. The root is, have you learned from these experiences? Because whilst you've been out here in the streets, whilst you've been out here in different relationships, I got to ask you the question, what have you learned? And the way you move, oftentimes the issue with people who have had several, and when I say several, I'm talking about many who have been loose upon loose. The issue is they can't come back with the boundaries, right? It's usually the boundaries. This is usually the issue. They have poor if you're a person that's just let yourself go and just did all the madness, right? Okay. You know what I mean? The issue oftentimes is that you find out that person's boundaries, self-esteem, how they value themselves comes into question in how they move. I'm a person that, look, if you got good boundaries, you love the Lord, okay, all right, you're about Jesus, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be cool. Now, if you're a porn star in the past, I'm sorry, I can't deal with that. Okay, can I be with you? All right, I can't deal if you are a porn star. I personally can't. Okay, I personally can't do it because I have an ego, and my ego on this one, I don't want it to go. Right? I can't do it. I'm so sorry. Please, you see, nobody feels no way. Everyone's, you see, no one's checking me about porn star, innit? Christian porn star. Someone's a Christian and that was a porn star. Right? No one's saying about the value of that porn star. When I mentioned about that men are not marrying virgins, everyone had up in arms about the Christian culture. Nobody's asking me about Christian culture now. Nobody's here coming to defend if I said if someone's a porn star and became a Christian. Nobody's defending that person no more. But here's the reason why I can't personally do it. Here's the reason why I can't personally marry somebody who's a porn star. My ego can't take the fact that you're, number one, if your videos are still on the internet, people are still enjoying you. And if when they see me, I can't be looking like a sucker in their eyes. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't have other man them look at me like a dickhead for marrying you because everybody has looked at you naked and has sex with you. I can't do it. I can't do it. Was a porn star. Okay. Now, if God tells me to do it, it's the devil. It's not Jesus. I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. I can't do it. Okay. You're right. I can't do it. So for me, my ego can't do it. No matter how saved and sanctified and Jesus-filled she is, I can't do it knowing that you was out here just holding it up. I can't do it. You know, I can't do it. All right? I can't do it. Oh. I can't do it. Sorry about that. I can't do it. You know, so for me, don't ask me to do it. Yeah. Now, the reason being, it's not necessarily the numbers of people, it's the fact that people know you. And that's why I said about, and the principle works even for small numbers. Because when mandem know a girl and they know the circle of mandem that she slept with, let's just say, not even that they're friends, but they know the circle of mandem they slept with, it can be a no-no too. Okay? So me, I'm not asking if you slept. Listen, I'm not asking if you slept with 30 people or 20 people or 10 people, whatever you slept with. But I will know by your. I will know not necessarily by your number. I will know about whether I like you or not by the mindset. But if you now tell me you're a porn star, no, it's too late. My mind already gone. I'm sorry, my mind's gone. My mind's already gone. I can't do it. Okay. All right. So that's reality. Okay, that's reality. All right.
You know that one extreme is something to that, but in my opinion, if you're dating a woman and you find out she's a and by the way, and you're dating to get married,
Yeah,
you're not just for I'm gonna go on dates and we're gonna go to cocktail parties and I'm gonna spin plates the way Rollo Tomasi told me to. Right? You're actually pursuing a young woman to marry. I don't understand how this can anyway can be a barrier. Like, why would this be a barrier for somebody?
Yeah.
I'm not saying lead with that.
Based off the stats.
I'm saying based off the stats, based off the data. I'm saying based
are the stats based off of a virgin man and a virgin woman, or is it just based off of at least one of them being a virgin? Because that's kind of
body count in general.
Lowers
your satisfaction in marriage and increases divorce.
Gotcha.
It's harder for women.
Yes. Okay.
It's harder for women.
That makes sense.
So, and there are women that are in church that are promiscuous. You know what I'm saying? They wow.
It was a
I think like this sucks for people who are virgins.
Yeah.
Like for the women that are virgins, really out here, like did it the right way, follow Jesus. I just think it's kind of wild. And from a macro standpoint, just so you guys know, from a macro standpoint, these numbers may be skewed, but per the CDC, the average man in America has 6 partners. The average woman has 4.
Whoa.
Okay. So this is factoring in the outliers. Most people have less than 5, like the median when you get into the numbers. Like most people have had less than 5 lifetime partners. The Gen Z generation is the least active in that regard.
Because they have TikTok.
Yeah, because they have TikTok, the proliferation of a POR and so on and so forth.
Virgins in the chat, would you be open to marrying someone with a 3 to 5 body count?
That's a great question.
So I'm not saying crazy high, and I'm saying 10, 15, but 3 to 5.
That's a good question. I think so. I wasn't a virgin.
Okay.
When me and my wife got married, she was my 3rd partner. She was a virgin.
Okay.
She had no problem. You know what I'm saying?
What y'all think? The numbers. So the skewed stat. He admitted himself. That's why when the guy pushed him on it, he said in general, you know, so that's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? But look, I'm surprised Gen Z are not on that thing at all. So Gen Z, they're different. I don't know what Gen Z are seeing. Clearly, we need some help. You know, so I don't know. I didn't know Gen Z would be the lowest. I thought Gen Z would be one of the highest, but I don't know, I guess. You know. Now, Candice, you better stop playing around, girl. You better stop playing around. I am not Hosea. I am not a Zena. Ronnie said, I work in the clinic. I don't believe those numbers. That's what I'm like. I'm so confused. I'm like, Gen Z is doing it less? I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah. Somebody lying. Somebody lying, men. Lying to the men and women about their true body count. Yeah. Yeah. Precise. Yeah. There you go. Gen Z ain't even 18 plus yet, so we need them to be a little bit higher. So yeah, when they get there, we will know. We will know.
Saying like she preferred that. I mean, hey, at least you got some experience. One of us knows what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
See?
And got married.
No, pause. Look what she said. Listen to what he's about to say now. That's very true as well, Lyndon. That's very true. That's true. Tinder allows for very sneaky links. Hey, no play. I absolutely hear you. Listen to this.
She was my 3rd partner. She was a virgin.
Okay.
She had no problem. You know what I'm saying? Like she preferred that. I mean, hey, at least you got some experience. One of us knows what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that like even the two partners I had previously, I wasn't like I wasn't like I had this thing figured out and I had mastered anything.
Yeah.
My satisfaction and experience has substantially gotten better being married on the other side of 14 years than it was pre.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the part I think he's missing is like, regardless, you can have and build a great intimacy life with someone in time.
Yes.
Even if initially, if you are, because this is also true. If you are not, and your wife is, it's gonna take a while for it to get comfortable.
Yes.
And that's precisely my point, brother. A lot of us ain't got the time, baby. A lot of us don't want to take the time to do that, baby. A lot of us don't want to take the time to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's the point. We don't want to have to do that. You know, we want to hit it, ba 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 ba. We want to go ba 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 ba. We want to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so people want to have that fast hit, bam. Whether you believe that's right or wrong, it's up to you. I don't really care. But people don't want to have to do that patient part in that area. People don't want to have to teach in that area. And the reason why, again, sometimes they don't want to teach in that area is because some of these tricks is hard to learn, you know, and it's frustrating going through it, bruh. Okay? We need to have a real conversation about this. I'm just saying, like, some men don't want to have to go through that long experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about in terms of responsibility, which is what I was saying in a very, well, actually, Latirius Whitfield said at the beginning. All right? It's, bro, that's what I'm trying to say. Because you see how he was careful of his words? He knew in between that time it was going to be a tricky situation. He knew in between that time it was going to be a tricky situation. In between that time, it's going to be a tricky situation. You know, so yeah, I said, some of these tricks are hard to learn. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, some of these tricks are hard to learn. Okay, all right. That too, we also somebody who's another issue is also as well whether a woman's connected, and I'm talking about from a male perspective, whether a woman's actually connected with her sensuality and her body. Has she connected in that area? Because I'm telling you now, it's long, brother. It is long. It can be long for some people if they haven't connected that aspect, their body and sensuality. If they haven't connected that part, it can be long. You know what I mean? Again, all right. Yeah. So Chelsea, I'm kind of in between that. I know most men are my age are not virgins, so some of them may be in the pool for other reasons. So because you'd rather not teach, you're willing to miss out on a great partner. Help me understand the madness. No, I didn't say I'll miss out on a great partner. I said I can find somebody who's not a virgin. You know what I mean? I don't have to miss out on a great partner. What makes you great? Because you're a virgin? That doesn't make you great. You know what I mean? It's just my preference. That's an aspect of relationship I don't want to have to deal with. You know what I mean? That's an aspect of relationship I don't want to have to deal with. So for me, no, I'm already at that stage. You know what I mean? I'm already done all the madness. So I'd rather choose somebody else who's also of a similar ilk. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd rather choose someone with a similar ilk. That's what I'm saying. You know, hey, I might end up marrying a virgin, but it's not something I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not that I'm going to X them. It's saying that's not something I'll be looking for. You know, because what we're really doing right now is almost trying to make the virgins like, you know, above the non-virgin. Like I'm not a virgin, so I'm different. Look for my thing is, if you're a virgin, why can't you find a non-virgin? Why can't you find a virgin? why are you pressed about what other non-virgins are doing? You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about us. Don't worry about us. There's plenty of virgin men out there. Plenty. There are so many virgin men out there for Jesus. There are so many. Find them. Find them. It's just my preference. It's just my preference because of what I've already experienced. I already said that already. What I've already experienced. So because I've experienced certain parts of life, that person's also experienced parts of life. That's a conversation, you know, we can talk about that. That's an area we can connect on. You know what I mean? I could though. You know, I could end up marrying a virgin. You never know. Like I'm not gonna look at, I'm just saying I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for that. That's not my preference to look for. I'm looking for somebody who also has been in relationships. I'm looking for someone who's in relationships. I'm looking for people who have also done the do as well, because then we have the same kind of understanding of what life is. So you said, Kojo, you can have a preference, but you don't speak for all men. Just I can't speak for all women. Okay, when people do this, come on. Let me ask you a question, Chow Cole. How many men who have had sex already have told you they're looking for a virgin? How many men have you been around that said they're looking specifically for a virgin? Answer me this question. Esther, Chow, answer the question. How many men do you know that have already done the do are looking for a virgin? Did I have a bad experience with a virgin? Not necessarily a bad experience, no. No, I didn't have a bad experience. I can see that we had different understandings of life, but not a bad experience. This is my point. Like, I find it, like, I'm not saying anything mad. I'm just saying the reality of it. How many men have you heard say they're looking for virgin for marry? You know, you don't hear. Listen, go to your boys, ask them. If I'm wrong, I'll take it back. You have male friends. Go and ask them. You have male friends. You ladies have male friends. Go and ask them, you prefer to marry a virgin or somebody who's got some experience? And don't make the experience, oh my God, 20 girls. Like, that's, come on. Don't make it like that. But just say, look, yo, would you marry somebody? Would you prefer somebody who has had a little bit of sexual history or someone who's a virgin? Ask them that way. Then you can know. Then maybe I'm wrong. Right? Then maybe I'm wrong. I didn't say there isn't any. I said, go and ask those men. That's another conversation, Adrian. That's another conversation in itself. Woo. That's another conversation. Real spit, Sean. Real spit. I am tired of RJ. RJ, I'm gonna get you. Someone said there are many men that feel the same way. I also know men that have married virgins and suffer with sexual satisfaction. Yeah, if we would look, you just need to type it into Google. Some of the stories you hear about what happens to virgins, it's tough. You know, it's tough. RJ said, if she's a Christian and once fornicated but was born again, isn't she a spiritual virgin? And isn't that what you want? I'm not understanding blood, worldly, and spiritual. RJ, I'm gonna finish you. RJ, I'm done with you. You're done at it. Esther said, do you do another live and bring us into a mix and speak on this? Esther, which side are you speaking from, Esther? Which side are you speaking from? Are you speaking from the virgin side, or which side would you speaking on? Which side are you speaking from? I would love to know. You know. I won't say anything. I won't say anything.
And you are going to go in with certain expectations if you've been promiscuous, and and physically for women, it's just going to be different.
Yeah, especially
it's going to be
if
painful.
you're promiscuous, you might have hooked up with women that have a higher body count than 10, and you don't even know that. what I'm saying? Like somewhat experienced people, right? But yeah, 3 to 5 doesn't necessarily even mean that the person is experienced. It just means they had sex with at least 3 to 5 people, and that could be as low as 3 to 5 times. And for married people, virgins that got married, you weren't killing it on your third to fifth time.
Right.
It was
right.
further down the road.
Right. Because not everybody who's had a partner necessarily, like that could have been like a one-off mistake.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I would say generally speaking, for Christians involved, because some of y'all is a little loose. You think like, oh, I've been waiting so long and now in my 30s, it's so hard. F it. Right. Like you're out of control. You're wild. You need to repent. That's not how you live.
Are individually responsible for your own relationship, morality, and standing with God.
Yes.
And you're not entitled to anything just because you're 30 and a virgin, and now you should just blow it off.
You should just blow it. Screw it. It's been hard. You know what I'm saying?
That's the worst.
Or you just got divorced.
It's entitled.
You just break out of a relationship, or you just got cheated on. So you're like, F it. No, fam. Because again, guys, I know the world is all about sex positivity, yada, yada, yada. All that stuff is empirically nasty and gross. Empirically speaking, you are setting yourself up for failure. And empirically speaking, if you're a follower of Jesus and you go out and start hooking up, especially if you're a woman and you go out and start hooking up, you're really setting yourself up for extreme challenges in your future relationships. Can we also say, if you were sexually active and have had asked for forgiveness and are now staying absent until marriage, please don't take this convo as judgment. Absolutely.
Listen, I'm back. Oh my gosh. All right, we're back. All right. Let's see what people are saying right now. Let's see what it's saying right now in terms of comments. Some real conversations being had right now. Learn about your own body. We don't trade virtue for blessings. God bless us because he is good. Amen. They spent so much time preaching, waiting to get married, and missed all the other red flags. So waiting ain't always the answer. Okay. He can certainly teach her how to satisfy him, surely. Okay. What is with the especially woman bit? Like, men literally had the same standard, but just wild out and refused to follow. Hey, you ain't hear me say it that way. Ludwina said, I beg to differ. When I was a virgin, I didn't know what I liked. A real Christian man will be honored that his wife chose to wait and will be patient and willing to teach. What is this real Christian man that you speak of? So we're not real Christian men if we choose people that are not virgins? Is that what you're really saying? I hope that's not what you're saying. That's what you're kind of saying in what you're saying. That ain't it either. Someone said, well, the Lord wants a word of me. So shall I lead the people astray with this nonsense? Oh, boy, love that. Okay. If someone is not a virgin, but they want to get married and are saved, one must stop fornication, ask the Lord to help you through the journey, ask him to remove anything spiritually and emotionally. I hear you. Yeah, this feels like misinformation rooted in impatience and instant gratification. Why do I have... I don't know which part you're talking about, so I don't know. You might be a different part of the video, so that's why. Ronnie said, none of us were born natural sex experts. That's learned. So to blame sexual dissatisfaction or infancy is more sexual satisfaction than that. Absolutely. 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 Cool. All right. Oh, okay. That's a fair point. Yeah. Someone said, if I were to be a man and I was asked if I want an old toothbrush or a new one, I would go for a new one. Okay, that's cool. Let's ask people to chat. Ladies, do you want a virgin man? Now, let's be honest now. Let's honest now, because people are out here talk about men. Ladies, do you want a virgin man? Let's put that on the screen, because you see, the last time we asked that question, some real answers came up. Oh, sorry. Apologies. Let's ask that real question. Do you want to date a virgin man? I want to ask that question. Do you want to date a virgin man? I want to know. Okay. I want to know. Do you want to date a virgin man? Let's just keep it a buck and keep it real. Yeah. Do you want to date a virgin man? That's the question we're asking right now. I don't want anyone to... If I see the amount of no's that I'm seeing right now compared to yeses, it's precisely what I'm talking about. Both women and men are exactly the same, right? Okay? Both men and women are exactly the same. Jiska, hey, appreciate you, baby. Good seeing you. Good seeing you again, babe. Good to see you. I'm asking that real question. Most women here said no. You know what I mean? Women said no, right? And that's what I'm saying to you. I'm going to the men. I'm telling you, the men also too. Look, if they've already had experience, you know, if you're a virgin already, you don't count. Sorry, you don't count. If you're a virgin already, you don't count, because this conversation wasn't for people who are virgins. Let's be honest. It was for people, those of us who have gone past that line. So if you're a virgin, one and a virgin, I have no issues. You're absolutely right. Okay. Now, Jay, I need you to explain this, Jay. I need you to explain this. What do you mean by that? Okay. I want to hear your forceness. Kate said no, because men like to take control. And sir, I'm the boss in this case. Okay. I'm a virgin and neutral. It's about the personal experience. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. If you're a virgin, that makes sense. Someone said, Pressure said, it doesn't matter to me as long as he's faithful and respectful. That's fair enough. You know, Silver Shadow, pointless to ask that question. You are certain that men want X, as though you speak for men, Christian men. All right, well, I mean, I do that pretty much every day, not just Christian men, but for men in general. I talk about what men want every single day on this channel. So, I mean, you know, nothing new there. You know what I mean? Nothing new there. I'm just hard pressed to find men that say this. That's what I'm trying to say. The reality of it is really. Said I'm not against it, but I won't demand it. I'm not a virgin myself. Yes, and a man with a very low body count. That's fair. Said it's off the cuff, no, but it's not a deal breaker if everything else about him is great. That's fair. I wouldn't discount him, but obviously it's okay. Said my husband was a virgin when we met, so yes, that actually what intrigued me. Let me know your spiritual beliefs were in alignment. Fair enough. At the time, we appreciate it. If you were asked to do a brand new business that is unproven or a multi-million-dollar company for ages, which one prefer? Oh, Kimberly. All right, Kimberly J's with the comeback. Okay, I never even thought of it like that. What a comeback. Oh, okay. Yep. I get you. I get you. No. Someone needs to get RJ. Someone get RJ now. Collect her keyboard right now. Collect RJ's keyboard right now. She is misbehaving on this given app. Oh, gracious. Someone said, this is why you say men like X. It doesn't tally with the life experience of a woman at all. Okay, well, that's why I said men like this. So I'm just saying men like this. Yes. You said I don't speak for all men. I said I speak for most. I think I speak for a lot of men. You know what I mean? I can't speak for every man. Nobody can speak for every person on the planet, but I think I speak for a lot of men. So I agree with this, Grace. This is the honest truth. The answer may be different. The answer may be different for virgins who actually have some experience, sexual experience, versus those who are virgins, haven't had any sexual experience at all, which is what I said. Like Jay said, like they said, that responsibility, that's an attachment, a commitment for more reasons than one. And with my history of men that are not virgins, I'll feel bad how I would do him. And this is me. I feel you, Jay. I feel you. I feel you. Sean said he's got a question. He said, ask them if the sex isn't good with that virgin man, how will they handle it? How will you handle it, guys? The question is, and this is a real conversation that we're having. Listen, we having a real conversation. So feel free to answer here, I want to hear your thoughts. So Jennifer said, if you are a virgin and you have sexual experience, you are not a virgin. I hear that still. Tashay said, inexperienced men are not a deal breaker. It's hard if you're experienced. And I get that. I think that's what we talk about with the men. It can be very difficult as well to be in that space with somebody who's not also in that space with you. You know what I mean? Someone said the same way Alexa's handled it on MFS. And that's precisely what we're talking about. It's, Lin said, I can't help you with autonomy. Lin, if you don't get off the keyboard, if you don't get off the keyboard, Torah said, but why must a man have the patience to teach a virgin woman? As a woman, there are things I don't want to teach a man. Many of us are horrible teachers. I agree. I think that's that. Torah, I think you've summed it up beautifully. And I think that's what I was saying earlier on. Many of us are not great teachers. That's just the reality of things. And you don't want to have the responsibility of having to teach when there are certain, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to be in that space. Because it's a different responsibility on your case. And some people are really better at that. They like to do those kind of things. That's fine. That's fine. But it's part of that, It's part of that. So I definitely understand that.
Follower of Jesus. You'd be surprised, man. And that's not condoning and saying it's okay. I'm just saying there are definitely folks going to church. I don't know where their personal salvation is, but there are definitely folks out here going to church that are tricking off their 20s, and it's sad. And I've met them, and I don't know if they're saved, but they're definitely around. And you start talking about Jezebel spirit and all that kind of stuff, it's not lit. It's not lit. And a lot of them, not a lot of them, some of them, it's a very specific type of person, but some of them do end up in church down the road and you know, try to find a good guy to settle down with. That is a thing for men and women. You know what I'm saying? For men and women, I think you have and build a great marriage, have great kids and great family, raise them up in the ways of the Lord, and eventually, God willing, if you're in a good church, good community, they will find someone to marry. And we've seen this in our church. We've seen a lot of folks married younger, and then families know each other, and we've seen it work out really well. God can change anyone and redeem. Think of the woman at the well. Amen. Amen. God can change anyone. However, that does not mean that there aren't challenges that will come along with that. Right. And so I think we can choose our sin, but we can't always choose our consequence. And I think we need to be honest in the assessment that, yes, God can and does redeem people, especially obviously spiritually onto himself, regenerate them, make them born again. But it doesn't mean that there aren't consequences that person's not going to have to deal with. And as someone that has friends who have gone through and had lots of partners, no one gets away with that unscathed. There's usually therapy and counseling involved and stuff like that. Here's the flip side to this whole conversation. If you are a virgin and you are in your 20s and you want to get married, man or woman, make sure that on the daily you are doing things to become actually want to be and raise kids. She's not going to be attractive.
Yeah, I think the conversation's done. So conversation is done. Look, you know, hey, listen, all I'm saying is, you know, all I'm saying is I was reporting, I believe what to be a fact among certain type of men. And, you know, look, this is open up some real conversation. You know, this is open up a real conversation. So listen, guys, if you have not already, listen, these are the kind of conversation we need to be having, but maybe we can't have it online all the way through. This is where we need to be. You guys need to do something. You need to be joining us, okay? You need to be joining us, okay, on the Patreon. This is where you need to be joining us on the Patreon, okay? You need to be joining the Patreon and join the Discord so we can have more of these conversations offline, but online, but it's offline, where it's not when it's not on YouTube, because, you know, YouTube can get a little bit, you know, techie. These are the conversations we need to be having on Discord, because then we can have it really freely, and, you know, we don't have to censor some of the words. You know, as well. So that could be that situation as well. Okay. You know, yeah. Silver Shadow said it's not a fact, Koji, and maybe preference among certain type of men, but then state as nuance. But I said that. That's why you wasn't listening. I said that certain type of men, you wasn't listening. And your issue is you want to be right. Listen, because I said that several times throughout the video, specific type of men. I said this from the jump. I need you to open your ears and listen, because I've said it several times. Thank you, Silver Shadow. But yeah, y'all need to get on a Discord. 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 Okay, y'all need to come through. You know what I'm saying? You're saying is most known virgin men don't want to teach after patience. Got it. Yeah, but look at your counterparts, women. They don't want to have the patience either to do it. They don't want to do it either. Nobody wants to really do this thing. Let's just be real. What it is, both men and women don't want to do this thing. It's not the easiest thing to do. Sex is like sex is not learning how to wash dishes. Like it is. Look, I'm telling you, it's more than just I like this kiss here. Like some people are really awkward, bro. You know. Some people are really awkward. That's why, all right? That's why it's like, honestly, that's why I said honestly. It's honestly like it can be difficult. Because I can understand from a male perspective how difficult it can be to teach. But I can understand from a woman's perspective, it's difficult with men who are even experienced, let alone people who are not experienced. You know? It is so difficult. It is not a joke. I'm telling you, it is not a joke. So, you know, I can understand from both sides on both sides. And again, it really just depends as well. What is your age group as well? What's your age group as well? What's our age groups? You know, what's our age groups? Because our age groups, you know, it's our age group among certain men, you know, as certain men and women. Because I think as you get older, I don't know if you really want to be teaching that. You know what I mean? Like you get to 30, 40. Do you want to be teaching that? I mean, you might not want to necessarily, you might necessarily not want to be teaching that. You know what I mean? Yo, you know what I mean? Agent J, listen. So that's what I'm saying. Listen, look, and you know, this is why we have to have real conversations in the body of Christ, as well, because people need to be able to have a space where they can come and say, my man isn't pleasing me, my husband does not please me, and then we have a real conversation about it, right? And then we have a real conversation about it, you know. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to, and also as well, a lot of men, and I say men specifically, have an ego. You know what I mean? Have an ego in terms of when it comes to sex, or they got a fragile ego when it comes to sex too. That makes it again difficult. So we need to be birthing these conversations a little bit earlier, so that people can actually then have these kind of conversations, not just, you know, so that people can feel more comfortable discussing some of the things that they actually like. You know. You know, that's the point. You know, I think it's important. Lyndon said, for the amount of women not experiencing the big O night, as we will be virgin and work on it with a man who will care enough to make sure you get yours. But what you're talking, see what you're talking about, Lyndon, I'm with you. That is actually more in emotional intelligence than it is in sexual awareness, right? Because there are many men who are, quote unquote, have had much experience, but it's not about the sexual experience. It's about whether they have that emotional awareness to say, I actually want you to be pleased as well. You know what I mean? So that's why I say it's also that's also an equal thing as well. And you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't experiencing that. So there's an aspect of work you got to do, right? Which is why we spoke about this before. When you do be having sex, are you asking your partner, is this enjoyable? Is this what you liked? You know what I mean? Look at our brother from Married at First Sight. He's suffering. Justin, he was saying, oh, it sounded like you had an orgasm. And she went, She went, I was like, wait, what? I was like, okay. All right. So, Melancy said, listen, just a simple touch can make you have an O, my friend. While I believe this can be true, the reality is it takes more than a touch. It takes more than a touch. And again, I'm learning also from even listening to other couples who are a bit more open about sex. They tell you, listen, sex, when you get a little bit older, sex now becomes more than just the act. It's the whole day now, because people get into a comfortable space. It's about the whole day. It's about how you make a woman feel. You have to even put more work in, because you have to make that woman feel special, loved, cared, make her want it. You know what I mean? At first, when you start, it's all bunny rabbits and stuff. But then later on, as you develop in your relationship, as it goes long term, you got to start to learn how to caress before you even get to caressing. You got to learn how to curate the day so she feels that love, that presence, and feels like she won't give you some. Okay, that's what I'm hearing. You know what I mean? So, but that's another story for another day. You know what I mean? That's what I be hearing, but that's another story there. Yeah, you know what I mean? So Justin is still suffering at the hands of a woman that was not satisfied. She sent his dog away and divorced him. No respect. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, I told you, like, I like, yo, you know, I experienced parts. Having conversation around sex is freeing, but it's also good because it means people know exactly where they stand. You know what I mean? And like I said, some past partners are going to get a refund. Okay, they're going to need a refund because as much as I cared about it, I didn't have the capabilities or skills, and that's why conversation's also important. You know, that's why it's emotional intelligence too, because I need to be able to, number one, emotionally regulate, but I also have to be able to be aware to notice maybe this is not working away for you, and I shouldn't be getting angry. I can get hurt, of course. You know what I mean? I can get hurt. Then, you know, I can get that. Felicia Cooper said, I can get off on intellect and being treated good. Hey, if you can do that, listen, Felicia, if you can do that, more fire you. Okay? More fire you. You know what I mean? I got you. You know what I mean? Maybe we need to have, like I said, we need more conversation about this because maybe again, different age groups, different things work for them, you know? You know what I mean? Yes. Intimacy all day works. Yes. What I've come to notice is that many males are more interested in impressing other males other than learning essential, intricate detail of their partner, which is a problematic. Yes, and it comes. Do you know where this comes from? It comes from a place of that your priority is not to serve or to please the other person, right? If your mindset is when we connect, it's only about what I can get. Because I get excited about the fact that you're excited. That's how I get excited. If I'm talking about sex, my best thing is that when you're served, I feel like, whew, you know what I mean? And that's probably part of my people pleasing, but also as part of just my attitudes. I always want to be able to make sure you get yours because sex is servitude. Again, service doesn't stop just because we're having sex. It's about servitude. So even in that midst of that action, I'm still serving you. You know what I mean? I'm still serving you. Denise said, "Man, a good kissing session can do wonders." You know what? The less that I say about this, the better. But you're right, girl. You're right. You know what I mean? You're right. You know, this is true, Kimberly James, as well. It's no guarantee. Okay, this is just guarantee. No word of a lie. And thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. That's exactly it. You know, like we want to please one another. We want to be able to please the woman, like you should, and that's the mindset you should have. Because if I'm in that servitude mindset, what I'm thinking about is not just getting my rocks off. What I'm thinking about is how do I please you? What works for you? That's what we got to learn. You know what I mean? What works for you? You know what I'm saying? Katie said, and I hate people who are with me, that way with me. So you're not going to upstage me. Well, don't worry, Katie. You can upstage one another. You can get a one up on each other. You know what I mean? Intimacy will allow you to warm up the engine, but do you know how to drive? That's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. Some of us don't know how to drive. At one point, I didn't know how to drive either, guys. But I'm driving well. Okay? I saw that comment, Sean. I left it alone. Yes, but Kojo, you will see that trait exhibited in other ways besides sex. That's true. Generosity in the bedroom is seen in other areas of life. I don't need to have sex with you to not observe. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying you have to have sex to know that. I'm not saying you have to have sex to know that at all. You're absolutely right. That's an attitude that will play in all areas. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree that 100%. 100%. Felicia said every man says that, but it's not. It says that it's not always fulfilled. Oh, okay. All right. Women serve better when we love you emotionally. A woman uncomfortable will hold back. I hear that. So if you're aiming to please, that means you're willing to learn. So someone is teaching. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind being taught. I don't mind being taught. I also don't mind teaching a little bit. But the teaching I'm talking about is, listen, I'm not talking about from scratch. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you've never baked a pie before, but you want me to teach you how to bake one from scratch? No. You already know how to bake a pie. You don't know how to bake an apple pie. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know how to make a pie already, but you don't know how to make an apple pie. You can make a pumpkin pie. I can teach you the apple pie. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Felicia Cooper says, every man says they aim to please. Yeah. I mean, do you know what? Listen. But the thing is, you will know by their actions, though, you know. You'll know. And like me and Sean, we talked about this last time. We had a men's conversation, not last time, but when we spoke about this issue, we said there's a conversation that you should be having even on the job. If you know, whilst I'm in the job, I'm checking in with you. Yo, is this working for you? Is this how you like it? Which way do you want it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm asking to make sure that you are in alignment with what we're doing right now, because I need you to also enjoy this as much as I'm enjoying this. Okay, all right. I want my name in lights. I don't need it spoken about in a group chat. You understand? So for me, and so I'm sure some exes have got my name in a group chat. But you know what I mean? So it's important, yeah, that you're having that on the job conversation and you're talking about those things as well, because you know you've got to learn. You know what I mean? But not every man does it as they said they want to do it. Some men think they're better than they are, and we need ladies to stop lying to them, because it's not helping nobody. I'll be asking people. In the past, I've been asking people 4 or 5 times after, was it good? Are you sure? Don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. I can take it. Sometimes I'll be asking, and I know it's good, but I'm just saying I have to make sure I don't have a fool in myself. You got to ask these questions. Lola said, how did you learn how to drive? How do we learn how to drive? That's the question. How do people learn how to drive? Ask yourself the question. How do people pass the test? You know what I mean? That's a fair point. That's a fair point. The whole premise of not wanting to have a patience or teachers being realistic and understanding the world, and now we flipped to sex should be serving another person. Yeah, sex should be serving another person. Doesn't mean I have unlimited patience, though. I don't have unlimited patience to deal with the aspect I'm dealing with. I can teach, or someone could teach in that area, but doesn't mean I have unlimited patience. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said about the apple pie versus the pumpkin pie. It's like, you already know about pie. You already know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just teaching you apple pie. I'm just adding another recipe to your already long list of recipes. But you've never baked a pie in your whole entire life. Then now I got to teach you how to go from scratch. That means raw ingredients now being brought together. Like, nah, cuzzy, yeah, please, okay. Edna, if that happens, y'all need to pray to Jesus really quickly. Okay, pray to Jesus really quickly. Y'all need to see a doctor. You may have to use Viagra. You may have to look at different conception. I told you guys about my experience. I said for about 2 months, I lost all libido. I've never lost a libido in my whole entire life like this. I lost my whole libido. I didn't want to think about sex. I couldn't talk about sex. I was not reacting to nothing. And it was the hardest 2 months I ever. I wanted to cry at one point. I said, this is not real, right? But at that point, you may have to find Viagra or something. You have to go to a doctor. There's going to have to be some real, place you have to go, yeah. 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 Chow said, billions of folks on the planet, sex is apparently it's apparently rocket science though. Oh, Chow. Oh, Chow. Chow. Sean said I was convicted. I wasn't convicted, bro. I keep telling you, you're not understanding. Okay? It was the hardest 2 months in my entire life. I thought something was wrong with me. It was not conviction. Reality was it was not conviction. The reality is sometimes your body says certain stuff to you. Sometimes your body says stuff to you. Sometimes your body's talking to you. So sex is not rocket. Sex is rocket science. In fact, sex is rocket science, and that's why it's about the communication aspect. It is difficult to get into alignment. It's difficult to happen to. So so I appreciate you putting this comment here, Charles, as well, because I think the conception is that oh my gosh, no, sorry, the issues with this, it's that it's hard, it's chemistry, it's the instant spark, is the communicational piece, it's also as well the fears and the in that situation, we have to understand that there are different components that work in it. So yeah, making it work takes time, and you don't listen. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah, that's what I think. I think intimacy is easy. I think intimacy is easy. I think intimacy is easy. And well, I shouldn't say that. Let me take it back. I take it back. Okay, I take it back. Intimacy is not easy. Sex is very easy. Good sex is different. So let me put it that way. I apologize. Good sex is difficult. I apologize. I should have said that. Good sex that is satisfying to the body is difficult. If you don't know your way around a female body, number one, and number two, if also you're not doing the work of communicating with a partner, two. Number three, if you're not, there could be traumas in there as well that can make it very difficult as well. So that's also very difficult as well. Yes, Jennifer, that's actually right. People are oftentimes not ready to be vulnerable, which what makes intimacy very difficult. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. So yeah, like I said, I remember my first ever time. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was asking the girl the whole way, do I do this? Where do I pull it? I said, what is this? The first time I did it, I was asking her so many questions. I did not know what to do, bruv. You understand? I did not know what to do. So yes, we need this conversation on Patreon, because we cannot conversate. This conversation needs to be had in the safety and sanctity of offline, because you know what? The chat's wild. I mean, it's not that wild, to be honest. It's a normal conversation. Do you know what I mean? So, and do you know what? It's interesting, because the next tour, the funny thing is, our next tour that we're doing in US next year, I've titled it Intimacy. You know what I mean? I really, I don't know why that came to me. And I said, yeah, 2023 LBB, the tour is going to be called Intimacy. You know what I mean? Intimacy and all things intimate. You know what I mean? So listen, watch out for what we're going to do next year, man, because we need to have real conversations, man. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Sean is moving mad. Absolutely. You're right, Dahlia. Absolutely true. Yep. Into me, you see. Yep. No word of a lie. No word of a lie. No word of a lie. So this is some good conversation. I like this, man. This, well. Agent asks what cities. Contemplating. I'm not saying for sure yet. I am contemplating. I really want to do Los Angeles. I really do, but it depends how many people got in Los Angeles. I want to do Los Angeles. I want to do either Houston or Dallas, one of the two. Depends what happens. Houston or Dallas. Potentially, we're looking at the Shy. Potentially. Potentially looking at the Shy. And I really want to do DC again. DC came out strong, so I really want to honor them by coming again next year as well. So, yeah. But I might have to take a little dip in Atlanta because Atlanta was too fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, me. So we'll see. Is Sean doing a tour with you? Listen, of course. Sean gonna be there, baby. I'm trying to get a few other people to come out as well next year. So hopefully we'll get them to come out. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. We might have new people, you know. AW said that Moses stay here. You know what? The tax don't work the same way it works over here. Y'all crazy with your tax, and I'm sorry, I can't do it. Okay. All right. Jessica said, why am I not doing Canada? Soon come Canada, you know. We actually got a base in Canada. We got a few people in Canada, you know. We actually have. So I might consider that. Felicia said, are you considering coming back to DC? Yeah, I do want to come back to DC. I do. So DC again will be very, very fun. DC, you know, you guys came out strong. Atlanta came out strong. New York came out strong, and I appreciate all of you. So, anyway, yeah. So we're taking this. We need to go to our Discord because this, yeah, we're gonna do it. So we're gonna do it in September time. I think either that or at the end of August. I'm thinking we're gonna do it in the summertime. So we got warmth in it, but I'll discuss with the team first and see what we can do as well before we get to that stage. Angela said, what about South Africa? I'm actually trying to come to South Africa, you know, but not on a tour thing, but just come to South Africa. I'm meant to come potentially for my friend's birthday. So I'm going to try and come in April time to South Africa. So yeah, we're going to try and come to that. Ashley, I was in NYC. You missed me, baby. But yeah, we're gonna try and come SA in April time as well. So we'll see what happens, and we'll come to that point as well. Yeah, so we're looking either end of August or just the beginning of September, so it's still warm. You know, so we want to have that. So we'll let you know a bit more information as well about that because I think it'd be cool to come back again and do some more with you guys as well, right? Angela, yeah, hit me up, Angela. Hit me up on Instagram. So when I come through, hopefully we're in the same place, I can shout you and say hello, you know. So if you hit me up on Instagram, let me know as well. Felicia Cooper said her birthday is 30th of August. Okay. All right. I got you. All right, guys, I'm going to bump off now. It's been 2 hours. I was only meant to be on for half an hour, and I'm on for 2 hours. But you know, it was good conversation. Listen, if you haven't already, join the Patreon. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not free. but you're going to join the community. We were busting up today. You got to join the Patreon to join the Discord because it's not free. But listen, we were busting up yesterday. We were talking about Love is Blind. We were cracking up yesterday. So listen, we were having too much fun on the Discord already. It started. Listen, like I said, I wanted to produce that safe space for you guys as well to have fun, and just to talk a little bit more as well about about relationships, talk about TV shows, as well. So the Discord, you have to join the Patreon to join the Discord. So we put the Patreon link in there, guys, so you can also join. Okay, I'm gonna join the Patreon. Hold on now. It's a shame. All right, join the Patreon. Okay, listen, like I said, it's not free, but join the Patreon because listen, the more we get, I'm telling you, by the time we get next year, we'll have a whole massive community. Because remember, what my word for 2023 is intimacy and community. I want everyone to know this. My next year words are intimacy and community. And I want you guys to also have this community where you can have more of these conversations with me, without me. And I want you to be in that space as well. And look, make new friends, network. If you guys are into YouTube as well, and you want to be able to connect with other people, other things, we can create a space for that if that's what you require. You know what I mean? You got to let me know what you want in a space so that you can have space to talk about certain things like this. You know what I mean? So you can connect with other people that may be able to do great work with you. We have to create that space for you guys so you can have a great community around you. You know what I mean? We don't want anyone to be isolated and alone. You should have more people. Do you know what I mean? So listen, more conversation like this are coming. Like I'm telling you. And I think also it allows us to do video on Discord as well. So we may start doing some private conversations there as well, just to be able to have intimate conversations once again, where it's not on YouTube. I love YouTube, but I think sometimes it's not always a conversational space for YouTube. We need to put it in private for our community as well. All right. So yeah. Woo! Appreciate you guys. All right. We're going to see you again a little bit later on. We've got Mad at First Sight live later on. I think it's at 7:30 p.m. EST or CST. 7:30 CST. Or was it 8 p.m.? I think it's 8 p.m. CST, isn't it? No, 7:30 CST. And then we've got also we've also got Dominica coming on later on. So Dominica's going to be at 5 p.m. EST. We're gonna have her on later on tonight, so I'm gonna drop that in the Discord so people know that as well. Listen, join the Discord if you can. We really want to see as many of you guys come in and create a community. And when you love it, then you tell other people to join the Patreon. Let them join the Discord, and the more of us are engaged, the more fun we're gonna have. All right? Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon. Much love and appreciation. Yeah.